Host of Forged in Fire.
Kyle Mann.
I'm G. Warner Wallace.
Kira Davis.
It's Ben Adams.
Hey, this is Dave Baker.
Carrie Pomeroli.
This is Mike Reiner.
This is Ethan Nicole.
This is Leanne Morgan.
This is Graham Parker, the 5th GP, and this is why you should never.
How I got suckered in.
I'm so embarrassed that I'm here.
You're wasting your time. You got better things to do.
Never listen.
Most darling, yummy, Reverend and the Reprobate.
Everybody, welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate, a show where two best buds interview people they have no business talking to. My name is Lucas Pinkert. I'm a real-life pastor, and with me, as always, is a man whose mom was drunk the day she got out of prison. It's Big Dan Whip Gibson. What's going on, man?
Bridge 4.
Bridge 4.
Yeah. What's happening, bud?
Not a whole lot. How's your week been?
Good. I found a brisket on sale at Kroger, so this weekend I will be smoking my third brisket, the first two of which I think natural disasters fit.
Okay.
They were not good. And so I've gotten a whole bunch of advice.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your advice, actually, to start us off. If I were to smoke a brisket, what's your 30-second rundown? Because I've had your brisket and it's excellent.
So are you doing it like on a traditional smoker or an electric smoker?
I do not have the pellet grill.
Okay, so it's over on the side then, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you go 2-to-1 with mesquite chips and pecan chips, right? You salt the brisket like a crust, right?
No pepper?
Then, so you salt it like a crust, garlic powder, pepper, let it overnight in the fridge, right? And then the next day, whenever you go to smoke it, you wrap it, you do 4 hours naked. Just you 4 hours naked, fat side down on the
just outside
on the grill. Yeah,
I know what I'm supposed to do with the smoker, but I got the first part done.
But you mix the mesquite and the pecan chips. You mix them together, get them nice and wet, and then continue to stoke the fire. Keep it at about 225 for 4 or 5 hours. After that, bring the brisket inside. Wrap it first in plastic, and then in foil. Put it in the oven for 5 hours and you're good to go.
I've heard about butcher paper.
Okay, so if you're going to do butcher paper, you do butcher paper not when you put it in the oven. You do butcher paper when it's outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Just so you put it back into the smoker.
Yeah, so I bring it out after 5 hours on the smoker and then essentially braise it at 350 for 5 hours in the oven.
Wonderful.
Done deal.
This weekend, I'm going to be smoking a brisket.
I'm excited to get to try it. Well, on today's show, big man, Big Whip.
Yep. We have a young Colton before all of the mistakes. Still young and impressionable. No, it's our producer. It's a guy who has gotten us more YouTube likes than just about anybody else. It's Camden Hernandez.
That is my name.
Is that how you pronounce it?
It's something like that.
Can you trill your R's?
Yeah.
Cool.
Prove it.
Hernandez.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to say it. You don't pronounce
that.
H.
Sounded way
You
less
made it sound like
dramatic.
your last name was Hernandez, and it starts with an H.
Yeah, the H is silent.
What?
It's Hernandez. You don't do the H.
I do.
Well, you're not supposed to.
I used to do the H, but I got clean.
Yeah. Nice. So, Camden, you've been with the show now almost a year.
Have I?
Yeah, as our intern, which has been kind of crazy. We looked back at our introduction to Camden episode, which is one that was pretty exciting. It remains Kirsten's favorite episode because she is substantially entertained by you whenever you talk, which is awesome.
I am too.
Yeah. So, talk to us a little bit. What's the first year been like for you?
Well,
because you kind of got recruited to, you didn't have any interest in this. You were just told one day, hey, we want to have you come in and watch stuff and engineer while we podcast. And you were like, okay, I'm down.
yeah, I mean, something to do.
A specific question.
Yeah, for sure.
What's been your favorite episode to just kind of be around and because you've participated, you've also just watched.
Yeah, this is true.
What's kind of been your fun?
It can't be one that had Danley in it.
Well, I don't think I've been in one.
No, you haven't. You haven't had any.
Yeah, there's very few of those.
There's one.
Last time.
Yeah, last time.
He wasn't in there. He wasn't there.
Yes, he was.
I was remote.
He was Zoom, but.
Oh, yeah. That's right. For Tommy Marin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tammy.
Oh, man.
I liked.
That was a wild ride.
Dame.
That guy's he's a great storyteller.
Dame.
But so who has been your favorite?
I liked the puppet dude.
Dave Pendleton.
Yeah.
The ventriloquist.
He was pretty interesting.
With his ventriloquist head.
I love that we wanted to talk to him, but we also had ulterior motives into speaking with him.
I still don't know that Dave understands that, nor do I think he's actually seen the episode that he was on. Much like he didn't pay attention to our admissions to the CCA, he has henceforth, after we interviewed him, not paid any attention to our podcast at all.
I need to go check, but I applied again, and I put in one of the questions they asked, I said, I know Dave Pendleton.
Friend of Dave Pendleton.
Yeah.
I'll reapply and just say, Dave told me I am allowed in. Dave said you're supposed to let me in. I know you
guys don't think that we're funny.
And then
we're not real comedians.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna paste the URL.
I don't know that I am either.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna cut up a YouTube short that's just Dave saying that we should get in, and I'm just gonna paste the URL when they ask for. And what's your reference here? Here's 10 seconds of Dave going,
saying
you're allowed in. Yep.
I outrank you.
Yeah, that's it. We're pulling rank. All right, so the ventriloquist, do you think he's the most interesting so far?
Yeah. That's the one I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, who do you think?
So you asked a closed-ended question right there.
But I did because I started with high level.
And then we got,
which is how there's a technique to this about following up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So you thought Dave Pendleton was the most interesting person we've interviewed so far, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so outside of comedians, with the other people that we've interviewed, because we've interviewed some authors, we've had some other podcasters on. What do you, outside of the comedy world, who do you think is your number two?
Dave Baker.
Oh yeah. So
for a second.
I'm gonna text him and let him know. So you and if I remember correctly, you and your dad are Forged in Fire fans, right?
Yes.
You're 4Gs?
So,
what's the name of the people that follow Forged in Fire?
I don't think it's 4Gs.
You don't know you're a 4G?
Yeah, who's yeah, 4Gs I don't think is it.
No, a bunch of guys that enjoy smithing. They definitely don't call themselves 4Gs.
No, so what do you think they should be called?
I think Forged in Fire fans is just...
Yeah, I mean, Baker's always just gone with fans of the show. Now, he did connect us with Doug Marcaida, and Doug may be coming onto the show pretty soon, which would be that'd be a fun get to sit down and to chat with Will Keel himself.
That would very nearly complete our collection.
It would, yeah. The only one we'd really need at that point is Jay Nielsen. Mm-hmm. But if we really want to go back, we could go with try and get Jason Knight as well. Because Jason Knight, so if you've been keeping up with the stuff that's happened with his shop, his entire forge, because he left the show because he wanted to focus more on bladesmithing. He didn't like the pressure of being on the show all the time. But his forge caught on fire after hours and destroyed like his entire setup, a bunch of his equipment, some of his knives. And that dude's knives start like in the thousands of dollars to buy like the regular kukris and stuff that he makes. The guy's just an incredible smith. But yeah, they lost a ton of stuff. He's been rebuilding. I've kept up with him. He's a strong believer too. And so if you haven't checked out Jason Knight stuff, go check it out at Knight Blades, or Be a Maker is the name of his brand, where he encourages people to pick up trades in order that they can do something creative. Does a lot of stuff with soldiers that are coming back home from overseas and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, check his stuff out. But he'd be another fun one to get off, and that would really complete the judges. Yeah, where we would have all of them, which would be kind of a cool thing. And Jay Nielsen actually just recently moved to Texas within the last 6 months. And he's been at several of the Blade shows around here locally. I just love that. Like, as soon as we look at you, it just creates an awkward pause.
Well, do you want me to say something?
I mean, it's
that was a beautiful.
Yeah, that was
layout.
beautiful. Okay, so what's it like? How different is it? How different is it being on this side of the table?
It's weird.
To be fair, you didn't ask a question.
I didn't ask a
You
question.
were just giving information on
Yeah.
that Jay Nielsen moved here.
Yeah, Jay Nielsen moved here, and then I just looked to you, and then nothing. So
Famously,
Yeah.
in the show, if I may, you, in the last several months, maybe 6 months, have acquired a car.
I have.
you have, yeah.
So I would like to know what improvements you've made on said car in the last 6 months, and what plans you have in the future.
We did have one of those that was talked about on the show that you replaced the alternator that didn't need to be replaced.
No, I did not replace it.
Oh, right.
We
You
bought
near
it,
replaced it.
to replace it.
Right.
And then we got under the car, looked at it, and it was unplugged.
You got under
Right.
the car.
Yeah.
In what manner?
Well,
Like,
the
were you
car
using
was-
a creeper? Did you have it up on a jack?
Yeah, it was on a jack.
On jack stands?
You gotta be careful with getting under cars.
Were
on
you
jacks.
using one of the Widowmaker jacks that the ladies at Tea Time Crimes decided that they wanted to randomly throw into an episode a couple of weeks ago?
No, it was probably Walmart.
Okay, so alternator didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, nope.
What else have you done? Because every guy, when they get their first car, they do something.
They
cool.
do, yeah, they do something to
I
it.
haven't done anything cool yet.
You got the
It's-
sunroof working.
Yeah, but that was just a fuse.
Hey,
It was
dude,
just it was
hey,
just missing the
does
fuse.
not matter.
Yeah, so far the coolest thing you've done is replaced a fuse, which got your. Is it a sunroof or a moonroof?
Sunroof, I believe, because it can open
What?
all the way.
Hold on.
That's a moonroof.
Oh,
what's
moonroof.
what's the
Moonroof
difference?
opens all the way. So a sunroof, you
can
can
just
pull
slide
it
it?
back. Yep, and then the sun comes in. But the moonroof, and actually the glass comes all the way back so that you can look at the
I
stars
don't think
with.
I ever want one of those ever again.
Why?
But how
It's
come?
dope.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
dope.
It's something.
Yeah.
It's something that breaks, leaks, and why do I need to open up the roof?
Okay, hold on.
'Cause
So
it's
it's something
fun.
that breaks and leaks. You're talking about the car or the
The
roof?
roof.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mine
do-
does
I
both
don't
of
need
those
that.
things.
Again, I think I've said this many times. If I could live in a cave, a dark, cold cave, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
It's cold.
Yeah, I would.
No.
Okay,
you-
I would need certain accoutrements.
Yeah, you
with
would.
me.
You would like a bedroom and a bidet.
Yes, and TVs.
Right. You don't
And
want to live.
electricity and-
You don't
and-
want to live in a dark, cold
No,
cave.
no, it would need to be climate controlled,
You want to live.
but still on the side of dark and damp.
you
and
want.
cold.
You want to live in a house that your wife doesn't control the thermostat or
that,
the lights
and that
on.
no one wants to come over because it's essentially a cave.
Yeah, yeah, but you would do terrible in an actual cave.
So I don't want more sun. Is my point.
Right. And what I'm saying is that you're awful at finger paints, so a cave is just right out.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay.
So what if you could do one thing to your car, and not a crazy thing, but there's something that's achievable. What
Yeah.
would you do? What's in the plan?
How fast is that turbo going to make your
That's what
car?
I'm talking about.
Donut.
Base.
The next like big thing I would want to do to my car would probably be coilovers or wheels.
Okay.
Tell Danley what a coilover is.
I don't know what a coilover is.
It's a suspension thing. It's to make the car. It can lower it and it helps the handling.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about wheels? I know what wheels are.
Yeah. What kind of sweet rims are you gonna get on
I got a
this
free
thing?
I
wheel
don't-
this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a nail in my tire. And it was under warranty.
Gotta
So you
love
got a
that
new
wheel
tire,
and tire
not a new wheel.
warranty.
Oh, dude. I've had like 3. I've had 3 nails in the tire, and they've replaced it every time. Sometimes you
How many
sometimes
nails?
you say yes.
How
to
many
the
nails
warranty.
does Kale have left before he like runs out? Before he runs out?
I'm pretty sure it's every time I go to Home Depot, I end up with a nail.
Yeah.
Not every time. That's
I'm-
an exaggeration.
I made a Home
that,
Depot
that
trip
is,
last
That was
night.
hyperbole.
Hey, nicely done.
Good job.
Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Camden.
Thank you.
What kind of wheels?
I don't know yet. I've been looking, but
Fantastic.
I'm not
Do
sure.
you mean wheels or do you mean rims? I'm being clear here.
You mean?
Whoa.
Do you care about the
That's
rubber
a- that's
wheel?
a-
Hold on. You mean wheels?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a loaded question.
It's
in
not
the
a
car
loaded. It's not a
community.
loaded question. It's a technical question.
It is technical. It is a little loaded too, because I want to know if you are wanting to get rims or if you actually want something that does something.
He's not going to get the little like snap-on spinners from Walmart.
I
that,
did.
I don't know, man.
that you had on your Buick.
So what?
Yeah, no,
I
he's
did lots of dumb things.
yeah, yep. Those were-
I
they were
know what
terrible.
the specs of the wheels I want to get are. I don't know what wheels though.
Okay.
It's good to know the specs. You got to get the right fitting before you can find the right wheel.
Considering wheels in the near future.
It's like
next topic.
Wheels are like pants, right? That you can look at a pair of pants and be like, I like those pants. But if they're like a 2932, you'll be like, I'll never fit into those pants. So it's better to know the size of the pant, so that way you can go to the proper section and be like, if these are my options, this is the pants I like the best.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
That's what you got to do with wheels.
Also, if they're made out of rubber, you might have a urinary tract infection.
Or be a fireman.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those two. Probably one of those two.
Or just bladder control issues in
general. UTI or a fireman. That's how you get the rubber pants.
Yeah. Okay, Star Wars.
Are we ready for that?
Sure.
So if you've clicked on this on YouTube, you know the title of this video is Camden Becomes a Star War. And we've been talking to you. You know that we're nerds. As a matter of fact, we've got a pretty big announcement forthcoming. It's going to be happening right around May the 4th that you're going to want to stay tuned for. Ourselves and some of our compadres have a little something special that we're going to be cooking up for you. And a budette.
And a girl.
Yeah, there is a feminine involved. So, you've never watched Star Wars before, and as we're gearing up to May the 4th, for May the 4th be with you, the most sacred of all nerdy holidays, we decided we were going to have you watch Star Wars. And you're starting in the release order,
yes,
which is the proper way to watch them. So you started with episode 4, and you watched it a couple of weeks ago. You brought your notes up here. We weren't able to record because we went long with the Tea Time Crime Ladies. And then you came in today knowing that's what we were going to talk about, and you left your notes at home.
I didn't know that that's what we were doing today. I was told it was happening soon. I didn't know that was going to be today.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Quick story on May the 4th.
Yes.
Several years ago.
Okay.
When Kale was 8 or 9 or something, I don't know. We celebrated May the 4th, made a big thing. We let him stay home from school.
Nice.
Heather had made a bunch of games. She dressed up Duchess as a princess. She put her in the backyard with some string looking like lasers. Needed to go save Princess Duchess, and there's all kinds of
great.
Good kid things. We
had
Yoda, green lemonade, all this. We just streamed Star Wars all day.
Right.
The next year, he was angry when May the 4th came around, and he was asking, what are we going to do to celebrate, the holiday, and the school's out.
Yeah.
And we had to tell him, no, that was just a thing that we did one time. It's not a national holiday.
So you did something really cool for him once, only so that you could be like, hey, look, this is the kind of power mom and dad have to crush your dreams. Remember last year how we had a really great time on May the 4th?
I don't know, but
you're going to school
I don't
tomorrow.
know, but he was devastated.
Yeah, for sure.
Be careful with May the 4th. That you explain it to your kids. It's not.
Be careful with May.
That it's not. It's not a national holiday.
Like it's Columbus Day, where you got to talk to him about, like, listen, he may not have discovered America, and there were some pretty significant atrocities against the folks who lived here first. Mm-hmm. But that's who was it? I was watching today. It was talking about. Oh, it was Dave Chappelle. It's an old episode of Dave Chappelle, or an old episode of Conan, where Dave Chappelle was on, and he was talking about when the Native Americans sold Manhattan.
Oh yeah, for nothing.
Yeah, so they sold Manhattan for $24 because they didn't think, like, they had no idea that you could own land. That's just not something that the native people did. And so apparently one of the stories was like, yeah, so they sold them Manhattan for $24, and one of the other guys was like, how much do you want to pay for some of the sky? Because they were like, you're so dumb, you can't buy land. Like, this land belongs to everybody. Little did they know we were here to ruin it. So
yeah,
but
tell them they had to leave.
So those are the kind of things you have to explain to your kid. And now May the 4th.
Yep,
we've complicated everything.
Yep. So be careful, parents.
Cautionary tales of May the 4th.
I mean, he loved it. So
with General
he
Grace.
had a great time, but it's not a recurring.
Should it be?
You get out of school, maybe.
So I did a destination wedding several years ago. And
he has 100 in social studies. Maybe I'd say if you get,
101.
No. I mean,
it's social studies, and it's the 21st century. Yes, you have 100 in social
all
studies.
Subjects. If you get a certain, you
right.
maintain an average. Maybe we do take May the 4th off.
Yeah, and make that like an annual thing for him. Like, hey, you can have a whole day of Star Wars if you do this. An A in social studies right now just means that you go in and you're like, I know, I'm the devil. And they're like, all right, here you go. Here's your A. So the
we really went on a rabbit trail.
This wedding that you or that I did. So my friends have this destination wedding, and you have to get the marriage license in the place where you're getting married.
Okay.
And so there's like this window, like in the state of Texas, if you get your marriage license, you have to wait 3 days before you can actually have the wedding, right? Because it's got to be, they hand you the license, and then they want to make sure that you've got like this 3-day grace period where you can go back and be like, nope, not gonna happen. And then the state of Texas has saved a bunch of paperwork. That's essentially why they do it. Well, in other states and in other places, it's a little different. So this particular couple got married, and then so they had their ceremony, and then they had to pick a day that was far enough out to where the place where they were getting married would honor the wedding. And so they were just like, it needs to be
Turks and Caicos.
But they looked at the dates and they were like, we could just say our anniversary is May the 4th if you guys want to do that. And everybody like that was there is like, yeah. So they have 2 anniversaries. They have the day that the ceremony was actually performed, and then there's a small group of us that on May the 4th were like, hey, nerds, happy anniversary. So it's kind of cool. So Camden, let's get your review of Star Wars.
This is what I've been waiting on, and you have too. We have been waiting on someone so young, that he hadn't even heard of Star Wars. You've no preconceived notions. You haven't even heard of it. Maybe you've heard of it, but you haven't seen them.
Right.
So tell us about your Star Wars journey, starting with
now,
A New Hope.
You have watched the Marvel movies, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so you're not a dum-dum.
Because I've got an idea for Reiner.
Okay.
And a total non sequitur. This is what happens on this side of the table. Things just go awry.
I set up here we go. We're gonna go. And then,
he did such a good job. I'm playing the part of Danley today on the podcast. So
yes, you are.
I think the next time we have Reiner on, we block out like 3 hours, and we watch Avengers Endgame with him because he hasn't watched any of the Marvel movies. We just watch the last one of those, like with his live reaction, and get a review.
He's gonna hate it.
Well, not only is he's gonna be so lost in the story. Yes. Like I want to know, like, hey, what do you think? I don't know what the deal is with the purple guy, but he's angry. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Okay, Camden, back to you.
New Hope.
Star Wars: A New Hope.
So a lot of my notes are more like questions, but
okay. So first, let's do movie review, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this should be a good structure. So out of 10 Princess Leia hair buns, how many do you give it? With 10 being the most and 0 being the least.
I'd say it's a good 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 hair buns. Woo!
That's pretty good.
I thought it was good.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Especially for being released in 77.
Yeah.
What did you think about? Because clearly it's an old movie.
It is an older film.
The graphics, the special effects are antiquated from today's standards. So
I thought they were pretty good.
Great.
Which special effect did you think was the worst one?
Whenever R2D2 runs away and he gets like shot by the what are they called?
The Stormtroopers.
No.
The Jawa.
Yeah, the
Oh no, that's a sand people.
Yeah, the sand people.
Yep.
Whenever he gets like shot by them and he gets all
Jawa.
like
the Jawas shoot.
and he gets all like electric-y. I thought that wasn't great.
There's like a blue, if I remember correctly, there's
blue lightning that comes all around him.
Kind of stun laser, and then he gets electrocuted.
But personally, I think the worst special effect is Han Solo walking around Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah, Jabba the Hutt wasn't great.
Which, to be fair, he only has access to the changed versions.
There's some things we have to tell him at some point.
Yep.
I don't want to necessarily steal your thunder with your list, but we have some things, some important things you need to know about A New Hope.
Yeah, and I might
which I'm going to go ahead and say now.
Once we get all the way through it, I might have you watch the original theatrical releases, which I have digitized. You're welcome, America.
Nerd.
All right, thank you. So you're giving it 8.
Yeah, I thought
8
it
out
was
of 10 Princess Leia hair buns. Okay, really nice. And you liked the special effects?
Yeah.
What'd you think of the story?
It was good.
Yeah, acting?
It was good.
Okay, cool.
How about that young Harrison Ford too?
Yeah, no kidding.
Han Solo.
That guy's a hunk.
He is.
All right.
Indiana Jones, Han Solo.
American Graffiti.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in it. I just
Yeah,
thought
I
we were
know.
naming Harrison Ford movies.
I'm naming amazing, iconic characters.
Oh. All right, Camden, you're up.
All right. So this one I already got the answer to because we were talking about it the other day.
Okay.
What's the point of R2D2?
Oh.
Like what?
What's the point of R2D2? Okay.
It's a great question.
So talk to me about where that question comes from.
So whenever the Sand People go to
okay, so those you're talking about the Jawas. The Jawas are the little ones that shot him and they go to sell him. Those are Jawas.
The same people with the.
Yeah, the Sand People are the ones
Yeah.
with the big stick. Yeah, with the gaffy stick.
Whoever tries to sell R2D2.
Yeah, the Jawas, the little guys in the
in the big
robes.
Yeah, in the giant car, the
Yes.
track thing.
What's that thing
That
called?
looks it's called the Irving Convention Center. Have you seen how the Irving Convention Center looks just like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's what we might do for Levi for Halloween is dress him up as a Jawa and just take a picture of him in front of the Irving Convention Center.
That's pretty good.
That's
Thank
pretty
you.
good.
They could get him crying and it'll just sound like he's
Give him a
speaking
little
whatever it is.
So the point of R2D2 and his ilk.
So, but why do you want to know that?
Yeah, so because the only thing you really see him do in the movie is run away with a CD.
He opens a couple of doors.
Yeah, he opens some doors in the Death Star.
That's a great point.
And he does some repairs on the X-Wings. But none of those apply to how he would have been used had he stayed with the Skywalkers on their
The rebellion.
desert home thing.
Oh yeah, on Tatooine.
yeah,
He's got a
Tatooine.
solid point
Yep.
that he is an astromech, right?
He is an astromech, right?
Their essential function is in space.
Which we all are.
Yeah, but to his point, what would he have done on the farm? Probably little. I don't know what he would have done.
Well, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are looking for an R2 unit
know.
of some kind
to run the farms.
to run the farm.
the moisture
to
farms.
open all the doors and
No, it's the
download the schematics.
It's to run the automation for the moisture farms. This is covered
learned
heavily in the extended universe. That the R units are used for programming. And
he is very
and in
good at that.
functionary. Yeah,
I'm just laughing at that. That is an intuitive question.
yeah,
'cause he
it's
is
pretty-
an asteroid.
because when we were talking
built
about
for
doing
space.
this, Camden was like, "What's the point of R2D2?" And I was like, "You shut up right now."
Okay, what was your next thought?
So on the topic of Uncle Owen and Aunt what's her
Beru,
face?
Aunt Beru, yeah.
Whenever he
Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru.
whenever Luke comes back after the Stormtroopers raid the village,
Yeah.
and they're just skeletons on the floor.
Yes,
that's
they are.
terrifying. Imagine coming home and who's essentially your parents are just skeletons on the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah, they followed in the footsteps of Uncle Owen's half brothers. They just decided to get burnt.
yeah,
So, which you'll find out about in 5 more movies.
yeah.
That's a lot of movies.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It is. Yeah, that is pretty terrifying, though.
And I don't think they do that again.
they just find
Where-
skeletons on the floor.
Where
Yeah.
stormtroopers take out a small faction and they burn them.
Yeah, there is a
This
okay.
is kind of a particularly angry group of stormtroopers.
So, have you? Well, you say that, but in man, I don't want to ruin too much.
Yeah.
There are other scenes where stormtroopers do eradicate villages, but there's nothing quite as gruesome as seeing those 2 skeletons.
And the fact that you
that are
can
over
tell they're
there.
trying to crawl away.
Yeah. So there's are you familiar with bad lip reading?
Yeah.
Bad lip reading has.
Is it the one with Yoda and he's I've seen that video.
No, this is not the It's
Not-
My
not
Stick
Seagulls.
video.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, or the Seagulls video.
I've also seen the sequel.
Yeah. So there is. I'll have to find the lyric, but there's
What the heck is that?
there's a lyric about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru being burned.
Yeah.
In one of the songs. I'll search for that. You give us the next question.
How did they build the Death Star?
Excellent question.
Because it's a massive thing that's essentially the size of a moon.
Mm-hmm.
They confuse it for a moon in the movie.
They do.
This is also
where did they build something that massive?
This is also covered pretty extensively in the expanded universe.
It is.
One of which I was reading about in the Thrawn series.
Mm-hmm. So you've got it talks about it a little bit in the Thrawn series. You hear a little bit about it in the Rebels series. It's covered extensively in the Star Wars book Rogue One Catalyst, where one of the primary scientists goes and does it. But essentially, it's in a remote system where they've built it. They use a lot of things that they've stolen from other areas and mined out of. They've mined planets so much in order to build the Death Star that they've destroyed those planets. They basically have decimated their entire ecosystem. They used
eminent domain, just like Denton did to Denton Sagarko.
Denton Sagarko, yep, got him out of there with the old eminent domain on your planet. Or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Earth is set to be destroyed. Yeah. Okay, so they built the Death Star in a remote system.
This has been posted in the Nebula system.
The entire Empire was essentially tasked with working on this project in secret. And so that's how they made it happen.
Another question about the Death Star. How does gravity work?
In the Death Star?
Yeah.
Artificial gravity.
9.8 meters per second squared.
That I don't know.
That's the Earth's gravity.
Yeah. I would assume that they use
it's probably
something
the same.
Something like that. But there is an artificial gravity because the Death Star does have a hyperdrive. So the Death Star can go at light speed.
That's scary.
That is,
and yet it took
scary.
like 35 minutes for it to just move around the corner of this planet so they could blow up.
Well, because if it moved too much faster than that, it would throw the other planets off their gravitational axis because of its sheer size.
Okay. So that means it has its own gravity, which means that people inside would be feeling like sideways force.
So that's why it uses artificial gravity, and why it takes so long for us to hover around planets is because it changes the gravitational field of the systems that it's in. The thing with Star Wars, too, that you have to think about is Star Wars is not like some other form, like iRobot. Like the original iRobot story it's what's considered hard science fiction. Like they really thought it out, tried to figure out how everything was going to work and operate. A lot of Star Trek fans will claim that Star Trek is the same way, that it's hard science fiction to a point. Star Wars is not. Star Wars is true science fiction fantasy that not everything within the Star Wars universe scientifically makes sense. They use explanations like it had to travel slow because it affected the gravity wells of the rest of the solar system. Cool, that makes sense. How much? No, it traveled slow because it would affect the gravity wells of the other, but those are the just basic explanations. George Lucas was not a scientist. He was a visionary. Next question.
This is kind of fun. I'm surprised you can read that. And yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I enjoy talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. And great questions so far.
Yeah. I've enjoyed your thoughtfulness.
Where did they build this planet-sized ship? Great question.
Also, something I didn't write down, but I was thinking throughout the whole thing, the designs of the aliens are really cool. Like they're so imaginative and creative. I just thought I was thinking about that throughout the whole thing.
And not CGI.
Yeah. I thought that was cool too. A lot of it was practical.
That changes.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
But it goes back, right? Because in the new series, a lot of them are not CGI. Mandalorian uses a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think practical stuff ends up looking a lot better than...
It does.
Agreed.
Even if it's like a puppet, like something like the Dark Crystal, all those are puppets, but that's an amazing... that's a visual masterpiece, in my opinion.
All right, what else you got? Because we have some dad things we need to tell you.
That one guy before so before they leave on the X-Wings to go destroy the Death Star, whenever that one guy before they leave says, "Hey, we'll talk about it after," that's such obvious foreshadowing that bro's gonna bite the dust. I just thought about that.
Okay,
I thought that was funny.
Tell me all of this again.
So before they get on the X-Wings to go destroy the Death Star, and Luke is talking to this one dude who they apparently know each other, and they're like, "Yo, haven't seen you forever."
Yeah.
and then they start talking, and then they're like, "All right, we got to go, but we'll talk about it after." I thought that was very obvious foreshadowing that he was not going to be able to talk about it after.
But he makes it.
Oh, I thought he died. Am I thinking of the wrong person?
You know what?
Probably.
It's not Wedge that he meets. It's Biggs that he meets.
I don't know his name.
He met
Yeah.
Biggie?
No, not Biggie. Biggs, his buddy from growing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What else?
Around the 1 hour 22-minute mark and 30-second, whenever
You have done such a great job
Whenever
of being
he did-
thorough.
I wish we had his actual notes that he left at home because he had pages of this stuff.
Oh.
it was
Yeah.
at one page,
He had page of this stuff.
but it was a packed page.
Yeah, it was.
So around 1 hour 22 minutes and 30 seconds, somewhere around there.
Around there.
Whenever C-3PO and R2D2 are in the
Arturito.
control room of the Death Star, and the Stormtroopers are like banging on the door, and Luke and all of them are like about to die in the trash compactor. Whenever the Stormtroopers like all run into the room, this one Stormtrooper in the back just like demolishes his forehead on the door.
Yeah. It's great.
Excellent catch.
Yeah, that's one of the best. Like, go back and watch the scenes in
It's one
Star
that-
Wars.
one if you blink, you'll miss it. But yeah, he does. He just
Dude,
smacks
he
his face on it.
smokes. I think he ends up like ruining that costume because
Does
he
he?
hits it so hard. Yeah,
Well, Camden, excellent job.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with your ability to watch a movie and pay attention and take notes because I don't.
and 8 out of 10. I do like that score. So,
it's
would you
fantastic.
say after A New Hope, are you a Star Wars?
I mean, I'd say so.
Excellent.
Yay. Fanfare. Bam, 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 bam. So let's talk about some things that you may not know about.
we need to tell you some things.
All right. So I don't know how much research you've actually done on the movie.
You saw some lies
You did. Boy, did you see some lies.
that George Lucas went back and repaired or destroyed in the versions that are now available.
Yeah, so there are
There's
three
differences in the originals.
different primary modifications that George Lucas made on those films. Right, the first ones happened in 1997, and in 1997, the changes that happened were actually kind of cool, to an extent. All right, so one of the things
Mainly
that
they were
got
explosions.
they were mainly explosions. The Han Solo walking around Jabba the Hutt scene in A New Hope was not in the original version because Jabba the Hutt wasn't a character that they'd fleshed out yet. They thought he was going to end up being like a Chewbacca type character.
Some kind of a humanoid.
Some kind of, like bipedal.
most definitely
like,
not.
He was not. And so whenever they turned him into a slug, George Lucas really liked that scene. And so when they go back and do the special editions in 1997, they decide to use the technology that they're using at Industrial Light and Magic, which is where the Pixar computer was developed. So they used some of that tech in order to create the CGI Jabba the Hutt. Well, now when Harrison Ford walks around him, he's walking through his tail. And so they just took the mouse and were like, boop, walk over it, animate the slugs screaming, and then go from there. One of the reasons that is one of the more controversial scenes
Not great.
in all of...
Also not the worst one.
Yeah, not the worst one. I'm gonna send the next scene over to Dan.
Well, the worst one, I think a lot of people would agree, and is definitely the thing that gets me worked up, which is the fact that Han shot first. So in the scene in the cantina with the band playing, he's approached by Greedo, a green alien who has a
Rhodian.
gun.
I remember that.
And he says, essentially, I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you. Jabba, you had a chance to make it right. You dumped your cargo. Jabba wants to talk to you.
I remember that scene.
In the scene, originally, Han just shoots that dude. He does not get shot at and dodge like in the... If you go back and watch it, you'll see he barely gets shot, and they do a pretty poor job editing, making it look like he dodges and fires back. In the scene, he just blows him away. And it's much better.
It's such a good scene.
IMO, much better original.
So in A New Hope, one of the things that they did add that was pretty interesting with regards to the things that happened in the special editions was these extra scenes where the X-Wings are flying away. And in the times when the X-Wings are like flying away from the planets or they're flying in formation, essentially those shots were done like they were really far off, because anything too close up, they couldn't make it look like they jumped into hyperspace very well. And so they changed those for the special edition to where you could see like the pilots' heads moving in the cockpit. It was a very early version of the new ILM CGI, which is the stuff that you see in all the Marvel movies are done by Industrial Light and Magic. And obviously all the Star Wars movies, that entire organization exists because of Star Wars. But it's so cool to see like those things, because I remember as a kid, so in 97 I was 12, or I would have been 11. I turned 12 at the end of the year, going to see those movies when they were re-released in the theater. And it was this amazing experience getting to see Star Wars in the theater, because we only had 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3 hadn't come out yet. And there's a lot of things that changed there. So there are some of those additions that were really cool. The next movie that you're going to watch, Empire Strikes Back, has very few of those. They're all minor. Return of the Jedi has another one that is one of the biggest atrocities of all. So George Lucas, like we said, he did 3 major modifications. He did one in 1997. He did one in 2004 after some of the movies from the prequel trilogy were released.
It was after Y2K.
Yep. And then the last one he did, the last time he messed with it, if I remember properly, is in 2014, right before the big like Blu-ray set of everything comes out. And that is where he does something and modifies Return of the Jedi in a way that just infuriates Star Wars fans, to the point that some of them have gone out of their way. There are so many, quote, fixed cuts of the original Star Wars movies now that are just absolutely insane and really difficult to get hold of.
And let me say this.
Yeah.
Let me say 2 things.
Go. Start with the second thing.
Second thing, going back to Greedo.
Yes.
The main reason he changed that was to make it look like it was a defensive shot that Han Solo shoots back. Like that matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's already
number one.
He's
already set on taking him in.
He's a scoundrel, and he's awesome for it. We love Han Solo for being Han Solo. Number 2, the main reason that a lot of the nerds of the world are upset about this is we grew up with these movies, and he comes in and changes them later, and then says, which is I think would be fine if he says, "Hey, I made a special version. I'm going to put it out, and you can purchase it or you can not." That'd be fine. He said he permanently altered them and will not release them in the original release.
Yep.
He will not do it.
Which is a little heartbreaking for those of us who grew up with something kind of different. Like it'd be fine to have like the director's cut of Star Wars, and to be fair, I think if you did that, he's in the long run, he's going to make more money.
Yeah.
Right?
Sell a million versions of it. I don't care.
Right, but
I just want the original.
Yeah, but now Disney owns them. I would say it's kind of a moot point, but who knows what part of that agreement was and if anything was there. That said, as you continue on this journey, you're going to find that there are going to be areas of the Star Wars community that are, quote, pretty toxic. And some and some of that is because of the stuff that we just told you about. And another part of it, as the guys on Tatooine Sons have talked about at length, and I love the conversations that they have. If you've never listened to the Tatooine Sons podcast, you need to give it a listen.
Yep.
It's a dad and his 2 boys. If you go back and listen to it from the beginning, you can actually watch the Star Wars Rebels
That's
series.
another group
kind of
that
like
I brought in to our network.
You did,
and
yeah.
you became
and I became
friends
friends with, yeah.
This is the one thing I'm good at. I bring them in, you become friends with them, and you...
Danley's really great at introducing me to new people I can become friends with, so that he can go back to the cave that he thinks he wants to live in. So anyway, the thing with the Tatooine Sons is so great is if you were to go back to their earliest episodes, you can rewatch the Rebel series, and I've done this. You can rewatch the Rebel series and then look at their old episodes and listen to what their impressions were of the Rebel series. I guess you're going through it, pick up on some of the Easter eggs and stuff. So they have a really cool package that they've done to where their content, even the older stuff that's 5 years old, it's still got a place where you want to go back and revisit it and kind of check some of that stuff out. But one of the things that they talk about often on that show, and David brings up this point quite a bit, is that Star Wars was made for kids. I think when George Lucas made the original in 1977, it was targeted at like what we would consider now like early teens and teenagers, right? So like your preteen kids and your junior high, maybe from like late elementary to early high school. That's sort of like, 8 to 15. Like that's his target demographic. Well, when that gets released in 1977, 20 years later, that 15-year-old is now 35. He's our age, and he sees something like, they're ruining my childhood, and blah blah.
There are doctors and lawyers and senators that are upset about this.
That are furious about it. Like that, there were rumors at one point that there was going to be legislation passed to prevent people from permanently modifying and being unable to release those things.
It's compared it to the Mona Lisa. What if what's his name?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Da Vinci. Yeah. I can think of the last name.
What if Leonardo DiCaprio came up?
Oh man. If DiCaprio defaced Mona Lisa,
and he was like, "I'm the latest Leonardo." So
there could be only one.
Yeah.
But the question is, should an artist be able to go back and alter their work? They made the art, they submitted it. It's in the public realm. They still own it essentially. But should an artist be able to do that?
I don't think so.
Well, and one of the things that I would use as an argument against it is what happens in music. Because if you were to look at, because they don't stop printing, to Danley's point, they don't stop printing the old albums, right? Like if you were to, and we talked about this in our interview with T.C. Carson, that, just to take Parliament, for instance, right? They have a song called Flashlight. And there is an album version of Flashlight that's like 3 minutes long. Then there's a 45 version of Flashlight that's like 4 minutes long. And then there is the groove version of Flashlight that is 14 minutes long.
Dang.
And they were on different albums. They were released slightly different times and all that. But they have essentially like, here's the version that we jammed on in the studio for 14 minutes that you guys can like hang out to. But here's the one that they're going to play on the radio that people are going to like. And it's the same thing that people have done with director's cuts and those kinds of things. But there is no way for those artists to go back and change it. Well, one of the things in the case of Star Wars that was so different than all of these others is George Lucas did not sell out to any of the major industry organizations.
Until he did.
Well, yeah, until he sold to Disney. But like that's the reason George Lucas was never nominated for Best Directors, because he decided that he didn't want to be part of the Screen Actors Guild because they wanted him to put the credits up front, and he didn't want to do that because it would ruin the really epic Star Wars scroll, right?
Yeah.
So that's like an iconic thing. Not very many people put the entire credits up at the front of the movie like they used to do back in the day. Well, they don't do it because everybody saw how clean Star Wars was whenever it came out. But that's also why he was never able to be nominated for an Academy Award and was kept out of the Academy for a while, was for those kinds of things. Well, also he did all of the financing and stuff for the movie pretty independently, which allowed him this unique opportunity to say, you know what? No, I own all the originals. 20th Century Fox doesn't actually own them. They just help me distribute it. So I kind of get to do whatever. And yeah, I get to ruin your childhood. Well, but go ahead.
If you have something else to say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that's the reason that the Star Wars community kind of gets, they get so toxic, is because now those people who were 10 years old in 1977, now it's 2023. And so they've watched these films that they fell in love with and for 20 years had, loved and went to cons for and dressed up as their favorite characters and knew their backstory. Well, now all of a sudden the backstory starts to change in a way that's just really, really weird. Like it's almost like somebody's messing with their memories. Mm-hmm. So they push against it in 1997. They push harder against it during the prequels, and then when the 2004 versions come out, and then in 2014, and now these guys are in their 60s, and they're just as upset as they've ever been. But now so is every other generation of Star Wars fan, because the guys that the original movies were intended for created this culture of bitterness about the movies and towards the actors and those kinds of things. So as you dive into this, into the Star Wars community, I would encourage you, find the positive places, because there are some that will take you on like really, really wild rides. I mean, in a recent episode of The Mandalorian, Ahmad Best was in it. He gets to play Jedi. Ahmad Best, I'm sure you've heard of the character Jar Jar Binks. He gets introduced in episode 1. Ahmad Best has come out in recent years and said, because of the feedback from the fans, how much they hated him and told him he needed to go kill himself and all this stuff, that he like actually thought about it. Well, now 20-something years after Jar Jar Binks made his screen debut, Ahmad Best has a cameo in an episode of The Mandalorian, and everybody's freaking out, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing ever. Well, for years, they hated him for essentially for the guy just doing his job. He got hired to play a role. He did it. Like, if you want to get upset with anybody about it, get upset with George, not the poor guy that did it. But they did the same thing to the gal that plays Rose and all that. So, Star Wars community, get your act together. And Camden, thanks for joining us on this journey. It's kind of fun to see everything through your eyes.
It's very fun seeing them through your eyes. A movie that is near and dear to both of our hearts, and we get to have our dad moments of, I can't wait to tell you about Greedo in episode 2. There's some more stuff, and hopefully maybe someday we'll watch Lord of the Rings, and we can tell you about how Aragorn kicked that helmet and broke his toe.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Reverend and the Reprobate featuring Camden.
Yeah.
Make sure that you like, subscribe, ding the little bell to get notifications when new stuff comes out. Check out our shorts and our reels that have been coming out pretty regularly with some of our amazing guests that we've had currently, and some of those from the past as we dig up some of our older episodes in order to make you familiar with some of the cooler people that we've had on in the past. And before we close, I would like to recite to you, gentlemen, a line from the bad lip reading song, The Bushes of Love. I pray I don't find any more crispy bodies by the door. There is the line that we were looking for from Luke Fine and Uncle Owen and Amberu. Links to that show, as well as the Tatooine Sons commentary on Star Wars, will be in the show notes. You guys stay hard, keep jamming, and we'll see you.